So this video, hope all you guys are doing good today. This video is, like I said, it starts off kind of heavy because I get this phone call from my friend. Kind of hit on it in the last video, but I get a phone call from one of my friends at the church, one of the guys I surfed with on a regular basis, had a couple kids, and these guys would come to him, you know, in the early evening one night on a weekend. And in San Clemente on the weekends, the nightlife is kind of busy. You can catch all kinds of different things. But what would happen, at least at that time, but what would happen is these guys would get him at knife point in his front yard and threaten to kill him. And you know, he tried to share the Lord with him, and they're like, "Oh, do you believe in Jesus now?" And they're ready to beat him in front of his own kid. And what was happening was these guys had just gotten out of juvie. They had met. The funniest part, it's not funny, humorous, it's just funny, strange. But one of the things was one of the kids claimed to be a white supremacist, but his best friend was black. And I don't know, things may be different now, but back in the day, I mean, if you were a white supremacist, you didn't hang out with black people, man, or Mexicans, or Asians, or anybody that wasn't white. So it was kind of a different thing, and because I grew up in that scene, I thought it was strange, but my friend was telling me how they threatened him, they were going to kill him, they said they were going to come back for him that night and stuff, and he was freaked out, but he didn't call the police. What he did is he called me because I was dealing with people all the time on the streets, and I'd had death threats and guns pulled on me and knives and everything else, and never been touched. God's always protected me. So he calls me up and says, "Hey man, I need you to come with me. I want to go talk to these guys, dude." You know, so most people would call the police and have them arrested, throw them back in juvie or big boy jail, because that's where they would have ended up going, because they were both 18 at the time. That's why they got released. But what would end up happening is we would start driving around. So I'd give my wife a kiss. She did the normal thing, which is, let me know if you guys are in trouble, I'll call the police. And you know, we're driving around all over town looking. They were walking, so we knew kind of where they would go. And we went down to the pier, and there was a bunch of cops and ambulance and stuff at the pier. And we walk up, and we drove up, went back up past my house, and there was a little market. Everybody'd go up there to buy beer or whatever, and we were friends with the owner and young guy, and we go up to this market, and sure enough, right there in the parking lot, he's like, "Dude, that's them coming out of the market." So we pull in, and I just walk up and start talking to these guys, and as I'm talking to them, they just start yelling. There's a car with 4 black guys in it, and they just start yelling all this, you know, the N-word and everything else, and you know, they're just horrible stuff they're saying to these 4 dudes in this car, little Honda Accord or whatever it was. And I'm like, dude, and so I basically, I walked up and I'm like, "Hey man, what's up with you guys?" And they're like, "What do you want, man? You looking for a problem?" I go, "Nah, dude." I go, "You know, you guys threatened my buddy here." I go, "I want to know what's going on. Why are you so pissed at the world?" And we start talking, and I'm just there sharing the Lord with these guys. And by this time, you know, they accepted me. We sat down and talked. I'm like, "I heard you guys just got out of juvie. Where were you?" And I just happened to know a couple of sheriffs, and you know, kind of knew who was what and where these guys were. So I had a little bit to talk about with them. And so we're sitting on the curb, and they're high as a kite, man. They're high as a kite. And they told me, they said, "Yeah, we did some acid and this and that." And they were laughing because I told them we've been looking for him for like an hour, and they started laughing. They're like, "Yeah, after we met your friend at his house, we walked down to the pier and we beat up these 2 Marines." And young Marines that were there from Pendleton just got to stinking boot camp or whatever, young kids, and these kids beat him up and they stabbed one of the guys. And that's what the ambulance were that we saw and stuff. So I'm like, dude, what the heck? Why are you guys running around town? And they're like, we're just trying to get thrown back in jail, man. We can't live here. We've never been in the outside the real world. And you know, they were basically panicking, man, and they didn't know what to do with their lives because their parents weren't around. They were basically homeless, jobless, moneyless. And I started telling them, man, you know, this isn't the way to live your life. You got to change things if you're going to live. And they're like, we don't care. We don't care if we die tonight. And, you know, all this stuff. And it was just heartbreaking, man. And so we're sitting there and hear these 4 black guys get out. They go into the store. When they come out, they start calling them names again. Gold and all this stuff. And I'm just shaking my head. I'm like, dude, you guys are so stupid, man. Like, you just don't get it. And they're yelling at these guys all the way to their car. And these guys are like, you know what, bro, we'll be back. You'll see, you'll see. And they finally snapped. And, you know, you can tell that these dudes were you know, from an area that was rough, probably LA or something. And so we're sitting there in this parking lot, man, and it's, by this time, it's probably 1 o'clock at night. I'm just sharing the Lord with them, telling them my past, telling them what I grew up in, and they're listening. They're sitting there, they're intrigued with it and stuff. And one of them was like, yeah, I met Jesus in jail, and you know, all this other stuff. And that's what I was talking about earlier, was jailhouse religion. You know, it doesn't stick a lot of times when people get out because they're stressing on the world and trying to fit back in. And all of a sudden I'm standing there and there's an alleyway and I see this car pull around the alley and shut its lights off. And I recognized the car, and it was these four guys that they had been yelling at. And they're driving real slowly up the alley behind us. And there was a dumpster with a wall. And I stand up and I see them. They're probably 10 yards from us at that point, you know, not super far, but not close enough to see who's in the car. And I start walking. I stand up. I'm like, tell my buddy, I said, man, I'll be back. He's like, whoa, dude, where are you going? And I'm like, I gotta go talk to these guys, man. And I stand up and I start walking towards the car, and the dude's like, flips his lights on at me, and I start walking up, and I'm just like, hey, man, I'm not looking for a problem, man. And, you know, I walk up to the car, and they're all sitting in there, and they got guns. They're like, man, we got guns, we're gonna stinking kill you guys, and this and that. And I'm like, oh, whoa, dude, I'm not part of this stuff. And you know, I'm just here trying to get these guys' heads on right. They're just stupid, they're stoned, they're dumb kids, you know. And I go, man, I'm sorry for the things they said. You know, I'm sorry that the insults they were throwing at you guys, and I totally understand why you want to do this. And I'm not gonna lie, they deserve it, but you know, they're just stupid punk kids, and they're lost right now. And I start talking to these dudes, and one of them starts laughing. He goes, bro, are you out of your mind? He goes, you walk up to a car with 4 black dudes in it. They tell you they got guns and you still walk up to the car. He goes, dude, who are you? He goes, you either gotta be crazy or you gotta be one of the toughest dudes I've ever met. I started laughing. I go, maybe I'm both, man, I don't know. And I start talking. I go, listen, man, I'm a Christian and I used to live in this world, and I understand it. I understand what you guys are going through. And I go, you guys from the base? And they're like, yeah, we're in the Marines, and we're just on a weekend thing right now. And we started talking and where they were from. And I go, listen, man, can I pray for you guys? I'm sorry about what these dudes said. You know, with all the crap going on in the world, you know, color shouldn't matter to anybody. And there's enough issues going on. And we started talking, and one of the kids goes, man, my grandma used to pray for me. You know, every time I go to my grandma, she'd say, I'll pray for you. And when we'd eat, we'd pray and this and that. And so his grandma was praying for him, but he didn't get it. But the covering that a person gives in their family, when the Bible says, man, you should be praying for your loved ones, your friends, your family, your neighbors, those prayers aren't in vain. And that's one of the things a lot of people don't understand is they don't know that when they're praying, because they can't see the effects of that prayer right away. You don't see it, so you give up on it. Oh man, it's not working, or the kids are lost, or you know, my 4 grandkids are gangbangers, and you know, in this situation, these kids were ready to make a really bad decision, and the reason they had gone in the Marines was because they got busted and they had an option to go in the Marines or go to jail. And they were both, or all 4 of them were really young kids, and all from LA, just like I assumed they were. And they had met up on the Marine base at Pendleton and stuff, but here they are ready to make a bad decision that's going to get them thrown in a federal penitentiary for a really long time, man, plus a dishonorable discharge from the Marines and everything else. And I'm just like, dude, come on, man. I'm sorry, you know, these guys. And one of the guys just looks at me and goes, I've never met anybody like you, dude. Like, you're so real, your heart's real, why would you do this for anybody? He goes, do you even know those kids? I go, no, man, they tried to stab my friend earlier tonight. And they're like, dude, why are you doing this then? And I told them, I said, because I used to be that kid, and I want to help. I want to help kids know that there's a future, that there's some way out. And that's one of the things. So I would end up praying with these guys and the 4 guys in the car, and they put their guns away, and I apologized and everything. And I'd turn around and walk away, and as I was walking up, the 2 kids stood up on the curb. I mean, they all dove behind, because they saw the guns. They all dove behind the dumpster. Even my friend was like, dude, are you crazy, bro? That guy had a gun and you were just walking up. And they all dove behind the wall of the dumpster to hide. And when I walked back up to those 2 kids, they're like, bro, who are you? You know, and why would you do that for us? Why would you be willing? And I said, man, because you guys need to understand that God loves you and cares about you. And I'm here to prove that. I'm here to show that somebody's willing. You know, I'll die for you, whatever, but I'm not going to do it because you're a dope head. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it because I believe everybody deserves a chance. And I also believe, and this is the crazy thing, you guys, is in all of the years of my ministry, not one time have I ever been touched. Although I have had guns pulled on me, I have had knives pulled on me. I'm going to cover that in the next video, some of it. I'll tell you guys a little story about that. But I've never been touched. And that's because God protects us when we're doing what He wants and we're living in His will. He protects us when we go out to do things for Him, you know. And I honestly believe that. And through the years, He would give me so much favor, and so many things would happen all the way up to today. He still gives me favor, even though I'm not actively doing street ministry anymore, at least at this time in my life. But you're always in the ministry. You never, when your heart's there, your heart's there. And if somebody needs you, you know, I'll walk up to kids on the street all the time and just go, hey man, how you doing? And it's amazing how many of them will open up. And that's what I'm here for. But I hope you guys liked the video. Subscribe. You know, we're going to move on to the next one. I'm trying to keep them short so you don't get bored with the stories and I don't mix things up too much. But the next one, we're going to be talking guns, knives, some crazy drug scenes that I got wrapped up in my early ministry down in San Clemente. And let you guys see, kind of gets heavy. A lot of times it's heavy. But you know, God can protect you, God can help you, and God can get you out of whatever you're in if you want out. I'm proof of that. These kids in my next deal, they're proof of that. So you can find a way out. You can find peace. You don't have to blow your brains out. You don't have to overdose on pills. One of the stories is pretty crazy. Again, they're all real. You know, they're all things that I did on a daily basis with people in the ministry. And when you're working with people on the streets and drug addicts and criminals and whatnot. You come across some pretty heavy stuff, but the best part is it's real. So these kids are real people, and they're living real lives. And I hope this helps you guys. Subscribe, write me, let me know how you feel about the videos. I'm gonna do one more quick one before I leave, but I'm gonna keep this one shorter. All right, thanks.